Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're tackling one of the absolute most requested, secretive, and honestly fascinating topics on the entire internet, the Rothschild family. You know, for centuries, that name has been completely synonymous with unimaginable wealth. But behind it, well, there's a wild labyrinth of historical facts, massive speculation, and frankly, some genuine financial genius. So let's break it all down.
I mean, you've definitely heard the whispers, right? Depending on which corners of the web you browse, this family is basically painted as the ultimate shadow government, just this mysterious dynasty pulling the strings behind every major global event. It's a pretty captivating thought. And man, those rumors get incredibly specific. The internet loves to claim they control absolutely everything. We're talking owning the IMF, orchestrating the Asian financial crisis, the Tom Yum Gung crisis, and even secretly controlling Bitcoin. Some of the wilder theories even stretch to claim they dictate who wins global wars and literally control the world's weather patterns. But let's separate these wild internet fictions from the actual, concrete historical reality.
So the truth? The truth is they are unquantifiably wealthy. We actually don't know their exact net worth, mostly because it's a very quiet, private kind of wealth. But it's built on massive, tangible assets. We're talking about sprawling global vineyards across continents like Chateau Mouton Rothschild. We're talking magnificent mansions like Waddesdon Manor that are just stuffed with priceless art, founding investments, and massive media empires like The Economist. And, of course, absolutely huge global banking operations. Section 1. Origins of the Red Shield. To understand how they accumulated this level of astronomical wealth, we have to travel back to the 16th century to see where this empire actually started. And I promise you, it's way more humble than you might think. This seemingly mythical name, Rothschild, actually just came from a literal red shield hanging on a house. The family lived in a very poor, incredibly crowded, and segregated Jewish ghetto in Frankfurt, Germany. So they absolutely weren't born into royalty. They were born into severe marginalization. The real turning point hits in the 18th century with a guy named Mayer Amschel. Growing up in pretty extreme hardship, he basically decided, no way, I'm not staying poor. So, at just 13 years old, he starts an apprenticeship in coin exchange. Now remember, Germany at the time was divided into all these different states with different currencies, so coin exchange was a massively crucial business. He used that exact role to build an incredible network, eventually bonding over rare coins with Crown Prince Wilhelm. And that connection, it totally skyrocketed his career, making him the financial manager for royalty and letting him officially found the House of Rothschild Bank. Section 2. A European financial empire. Let's see how this builds from a single successful bank into an unstoppable continental network. This is where the strategy gets really brilliant. Mayer Amschel had this massive vision. He took his 5 sons and deployed them to 5 highly strategic European cities: Frankfurt, Vienna, London, Naples, and Paris. Every single son integrated deeply into the highest levels of their local society and government. By keeping up incredibly tight communication, they essentially created a coordinated, multinational financial network that was completely unprecedented at the time. They weren't just some local bank anymore. They literally became the financial nervous system of Europe. And here's a perfect example of why they became so powerful. During the Napoleonic Wars, the British government faced this massive logistical nightmare. How on earth do you physically transport money across hostile borders to pay your troops? Well, the Rothschilds stepped in and used that 5-city network to handle the cross-border transactions seamlessly themselves. They weren't just lending money, they were providing huge, completely indispensable logistical solutions for governments during wartime.
Section 3. Debunking the Waterloo myth. But hey, with massive influence comes massive scrutiny.
Which brings us to the most infamous story about the family. The legend goes that Nathan Rothschild, using a bunch of fast careers, knew Britain won the Battle of Waterloo way before anyone else. The story claims he deliberately crashed the London stock market, bought up everything for pennies, and made an absolute fortune. But we've got to look impartially at the historical record here. Historians have found this story was largely fabricated decades later. In fact, this specific narrative of insider trading was heavily embellished and actively weaponized by a 1940s Nazi propaganda film designed to demonize Jewish people. So the truth is much less theatrical, but the myth, unfortunately, just stuck around.
Section 4. The true secret. Diversification. The crucial point here is that their real secret wasn't malicious insider trading, staging global crises, or controlling the weather.
Their actual superpower was aggressive, visionary adaptability. I mean, whenever a new industry emerged, they didn't get scared, they just jumped right in. They funded sovereign loans for newly independent nations like Brazil. They dominated global gold trading, literally helping set the world price all the way until 2004. They heavily funded the booming railway infrastructure spreading across Europe, India, and South America. They even financed the digging of the Suez Canal. They spread their risk globally across completely different massive industries.
And you know, that adaptability didn't just stop in the 19th century. Today, through corporate entities like Rothschild & Co., they are heavily invested in the exact same companies that power our modern world right now. They hold stakes in Tesla, Apple, Meta, Amazon, Visa, Johnson & Johnson. They completely prove that the strategy of pivoting to exactly where the future is heading is still very much alive and well today. So, what's the greatest lesson we can pull from analyzing this multi-century empire? It's surprisingly simple, actually, and it's summed up perfectly by that old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. The Rothschilds survived wars, market crashes, and literally centuries of massive global change simply because they diversified their investments so incredibly thoroughly that if one single sector failed, the others totally protected their wealth. Section 5, Modern Investing with Webull. Now, here is where this gets absolutely relevant for you and me. Because guess what? You do not need a red shield on your door, and you certainly don't need 18th century royal connections to apply this exact same diversification strategy today. Technology has totally leveled the playing field. What used to require a network of careers on horseback riding across 5 European cities can now be done straight from your pocket. Today's explainer is brought to you by Webull, which is a platform that makes investing globally incredibly accessible for absolutely everyone. With the Webull ecosystem, you are instantly connected to the markets. You can easily buy shares in top US and global companies, trade options, or invest in ETFs. And since it's available in 14 countries, it truly empowers you to instantly diversify your own portfolio across borders, just like those historical financial titans did, but, with just a few taps on a screen. And hey, you might be thinking, but I don't have a massive fortune to start with. Well, you don't need one. With Webull, you can start building your empire using fractional shares, with literally as little as $5. It completely removes the barrier to entry for owning a piece of the world's most successful companies. Plus, Webull offers these amazing automated tools to help you build wealth without constantly stressing over the charts. You can set up DCA, dollar cost averaging, to auto-invest regularly. Whether that's daily, weekly, or monthly, you can do it with absolutely zero commission. Pair that with Drip, which automatically reinvests your dividends to compound your growth, and you are literally putting your wealth building on absolute autopilot. And even if you're just keeping cash in your account, maybe waiting for that perfect moment or the next big market opportunity to invest, Webull isn't letting your money just sit there idle. They pay you an impressive 3.5 to 5% interest on your uninvested US dollars, so your money is constantly working for you. Of course, when we're talking about your money, security is absolutely everything. Webull is a highly secure, heavily regulated platform that's trusted by over 24 million accounts worldwide. They're regulated by top authorities like the SEC and are listed on the NASDAQ, making it a perfectly safe and reliable place to grow and protect your assets. So we've seen today that the true mystery behind the Rothschild wealth isn't magic, and it definitely isn't some crazy internet conspiracy. It is simply the relentless mastery of adaptability and diversification. They built a multi-generational legacy by seizing opportunities. Which really makes you wonder, with the entire global market right in our pockets today, what will the financial dynasties of the 22nd century actually look like? And more importantly, how will you build yours? Click the link in the description below to start your own legacy with Webull today. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.